The amazing story has arrived, and the story name is What If Naruto x Snow White x Harem. So let's start the series. The apple hits the ground. It lands in the dirt with a soft thump, rolling once before coming to rest against the root. A single bite mark, small, delicate, human, gapes from its flesh, already browning at the edges. Snow White does not see it fall. She is already falling herself. Her hands scrape against the bark of the ancient oak as she slides down its trunk. Her fingers, those gentle fingers that have mended clothes and fed birds and touched the cheeks of children who had no one else, curl into fists against the moss. She tries to hold on. She tries. But her arms will not listen. The world tilts. The forest blurs into smudges of green and brown, and the pale gray of a sky that has seen too much and done nothing. Her back meets the earth. Her head lolls. The crown of her hair, black as the space between stars, spreads against the fallen leaves like ink spilled on parchment. She is breathing. That is all she can manage. In. Out. Each breath is a war. Footsteps. They come from the direction of the cottage path, deliberate and unhurried. The leaves crunch with the rhythm of someone who knows exactly where they are going. Someone who has already won. The queen emerges from the shadows of the elder trees. She is tall. Taller than she should be. Her gown moves like water, if water were made of midnight and malice, and her face is a mask of porcelain perfection that has never once cracked under the weight of what she has done. Her lips are red. Her skin is white. Her eyes are the color of poison berries, and they are fixed on the girl crumpled at the base of the oak. She smiles. It is not a kind smile. It is the smile of a sculptor admiring a finished piece. The final stroke. The last cut. Such a pity, the queen murmurs, her voice honey over arsenic. You could have been content in the forest. With your birds. Your little men. Your. She pauses, tilting her head. Innocence. She steps closer. Snow White's fingers twitch. Her lips part. Whether to speak or scream or simply draw air, no one could say. Her eyes are open but seeing nothing. Or perhaps they are seeing everything. Perhaps in this moment between life and death, she sees the shape of her stepmother's cruelty with perfect, terrible clarity. The queen stops above her. She looks down. And for a moment, just a moment, something flickers across that perfect face. Something that might be satisfaction. Or hunger. Or the quiet relief of a story finally reaching its end. No. She breathes. Now you are nothing. She is not alone. The queen's head turns. It is a small movement. A predator's movement. Her eyes leave Snow White's face and sweep toward the tree line, toward the place where the forest grows thick and dark and old. Her smile does not fade, but it changes. Sharpens. Something orange flickers between the trunks. Not fire. Not fox. Something else. Something that should not be here. The queen's hand rises. Her fingers, long, white, tipped with nails like chips of obsidian, curl into a gesture that makes the air itself grow heavy. The shadows beneath the elder trees begin to move. To breathe. To reach. I know you're there, she says. Her voice carries. It does not echo. It simply is, settling into the spaces between the trees like a claim of ownership. The orange flicker stops. For 3 heartbeats, nothing moves. Then. Crunch. A footstep. Heavy. Human. The trees part. He is young. Younger than she expected. His face is round with the last traces of boyhood, and his hair is the color of sunlight caught in wheat, though it spikes away from his head like he has been running his hands through it for hours. There are 3 lines on each of his cheeks, scars, she realizes, though they look like whiskers, like something wild and untamed. His clothes are strange. A jacket the color of flame over black mesh. Pants that end just below the knee. Sandals. He wears a metal plate on his forehead, scratched and dented, and his hands are curled into fists at his sides. He is not looking at the queen. He is looking at Snow White. And in his eyes, the queen sees something that does not belong in her forest. Hope. Not the fragile, trembling hope of the girl at her feet. Not the desperate hope of the dwarves who have hidden in these woods for years. Something else. Something that has been beaten and burned and told 1,000 times that it should die. And refused. Every single time. The boy's fists tighten. His jaw works. His eyes, blue, impossibly blue, like the sky after a storm, move from Snow White's still face to the fallen apple to the queen herself. He does not run. He does not attack. He simply stands there, breathing, watching, waiting. And the queen feels something she has not felt in a very long time. Uncertainty. "You are not from here," she says. It is not a question. The boy's eyes narrow. His weight shifts onto the balls of his feet, and there is something in the way he moves, the economy of motion, the coiled readiness, that speaks of training, of battle, of a life that has taught him to measure distances and threats in the space between heartbeats. "No," he says. His voice is rough, young, but there is something in it that the queen recognizes. Something she has seen in generals and kings and the rare, terrible few who have looked at her power and chosen to stand anyway. "Then you have no stake in this," the queen says. Her smile returns. Softer now. Inviting. "You are lost. Confused. A stranger in a strange land." She takes a step toward him, and the shadows follow, curling around her feet like loyal hounds. "I can help you return to wherever you came from. All you have to do is walk away." The boy's eyes flick to Snow White. "She's dying," he says. "Yes." "You did that." "Yes." The boy's hands uncurl. The queen sees his palms, calloused, scarred, the hands of someone who has held too much and let go of too little, and for a moment she thinks he might be surrendering. Then light. It blooms in his palm like a flower made of fire and fury. A sphere of churning, spinning energy that sings against the air and makes the shadows around the queen's feet hiss and recoil. The boy's face is illuminated by it, and in that light, the queen sees something she had not noticed before. The boy is afraid. His hands shake. His breathing is too fast. There is a tension in his shoulders that speaks of exhaustion, of wounds recently healed, of a fight that has already cost him more than he had to give. But his eyes do not waver. "You're gonna step away from her," he says. "And then you're gonna tell me how to fix this." The queen laughs. It is a beautiful sound. Clear as a bell, cold as a winter stream. It echoes through the trees and makes the birds go silent and the squirrels freeze in their nests. "Fix this?" she says. "You cannot fix this. You cannot even understand this. You are a child playing at heroics in a world whose rules you do not know." She spreads her hands, and the shadows rise with them, forming shapes in the air, faces, hands, reaching fingers made of darkness and despair. "I have poisoned her with the sleeping death. There is no cure. There is no antidote. There is only the kiss of true love, and I assure you." Her smile sharpens. "That does not exist." The boy's fear of light wavers. For just a moment, the queen sees doubt flicker across his face. Sees the weight of her words settle into his chest, into the part of him that has been told 1,000 times that he is not enough, that he is too loud, too foolish, too much. Then his jaw tightens. Shadow clone jutsu. The words mean nothing to her. The 20 orange-clad figures that explode into existence around him mean everything. The clones move before she can react. They are fast, faster than she expected, and they do not attack her. They surround Snow White. One lifts her head with careful hands. Another checks her pulse. A third examines the fallen apple, turning it over with the practiced care of someone who has learned to look for poison in a world where poison hides everywhere. The queen's shadows lash out. They tear through 3 clones before the boy's eyes even register the movement. The copies vanish in puffs of smoke, and the queen feels a moment of satisfaction, fragile, fleeting. Until she sees the boy's face. He is not looking at the clones she destroyed. He is looking at Snow White. And in his eyes she sees something that makes her smile falter. Determination. Pure, stupid, impossible determination. The kind of determination that does not understand the word. Cannot. That has never understood it. That has looked at gods and demons and armies and said, "I don't care," with every fiber of its being. The boy moves. Not toward her. Toward the girl. He slides to his knees beside Snow White, and his hands, those scarred, calloused, shaking hands, touch her face with a gentleness that seems impossible for someone who just summoned 20 copies of himself from nothing. "Hey," he says. His voice cracks. "Hey, come on. Wake up." Snow White does not move. Her skin is cold. Her lips are pale. The only sign of life is the faint, fragile rise and fall of her chest, so shallow that he has to press his fingers to her throat to feel it. The boy's clones gather around them, forming a wall of orange and determination between Snow White and the Queen. They are armed with nothing but their hands and their stubbornness, and they stand anyway. The Queen watches them. And for the first time in her reign, she considers that she might have made a miscalculation. "You are wasting your time," she says. Her voice is calm, controlled. But there is something beneath it now, something that might be anger or fear or the cold, calculating recognition of an obstacle she had not anticipated. The boy ignores her. He is bent over Snow White, his forehead nearly touching hers. His hands are on her shoulders, gripping perhaps too tightly, and his breathing is harsh and uneven in the quiet of the forest. "I don't know what to do," he says. The words are not for the Queen. They are for himself. For the universe. For whatever power brought him to this strange world with its poison apples and its evil queens and its girl who believed in kindness so strongly that she accepted fruit from the woman who wanted her dead. I can't." His voice breaks. And in that moment, the Queen sees him clearly. Not a warrior. Not a hero. A child. A child who has been pushed past every limit he has ever known and asked to save someone he has never met from a fate he does not understand. She smiles. "How touching," she says. "The lost boy weeps for a stranger. But tears will not wake her. Nothing will. She will sleep until the end of time, and I will rule, and you will return to wherever you came from with nothing but the memory of your failure." The boy's head lifts. His eyes are wet. His face is streaked with dirt, and what might be old blood. But his gaze is steady, and there is something in it that makes the Queen's shadows pause. "You're wrong," he says. "I am never." "You're wrong," he repeats. Louder now. Stronger. "You say there's no cure. You say nothing can wake her. But you know what?" He shifts, settling himself more firmly beside Snow White, and his hand finds hers. Her fingers are cold, limp, lifeless, but he holds them anyway. "I've heard that before. I've heard can't and never and impossible my whole life. And you know what I learned?" He leans forward. And in the space between one breath and the next, the Queen sees something move behind his eyes. Something vast. Something golden. Something that should not exist in the body of a child. "The only thing that's impossible," he says, "is giving up." The shadows scream. The Queen does not, she would never be so undignified, but her shadows scream, and the trees shudder, and the ground beneath her feet cracks with the force of her sudden, unexpected fury. The boy's clones brace themselves, and the boy himself does not flinch, and in his eyes, that golden thing recedes but does not disappear. "You are nothing," the Queen hisses. Her voice is no longer honey. It is venom. It is acid. It is the rage of a woman who has been told no for the first time in 100 years and cannot comprehend the word. "I am the Queen of this land. I command the darkness. I have crushed kingdoms and burned bloodlines and erased the very memory of those who opposed me." Her shadows rise around her, towering, terrible, blotting out the pale gray sky. "And you, a child, a stranger, dare to defy me?" The boy stands. He does not let go of Snow White's hand. "I dare," he says. And for a moment, just a moment, the Queen sees something in him that she has not seen in anyone since she took this throne. A light that does not waver. A heart that does not break. A soul that has looked into the darkness and chosen, again and again and again, to stand in front of it. She could kill him. She should kill him. Her shadows are gathering, her power is rising, and in this moment, she is strong enough to tear this boy apart atom by atom and scatter his essence across the 7 kingdoms. But something stops her. Not fear. Caution. She does not know what he is. Does not know where he came from or how he arrived or what that golden thing behind his eyes might become if she pushes him too far. And in her long, long reign, the Queen has learned one truth above all others. Never fight what you do not understand. She smiles. It is a terrible smile. "Very well," she says. "Keep her. Protect her. Love her if you can." Her shadows begin to retreat, curling back into the darkness between the trees. "But know this, lost boy. The sleeping death does not care about your determination. It does not care about your light. It will take her, slowly, breath by breath, until there is nothing left but a body that looks like her but isn't." She steps backward into the shadows. "Come find me when you understand. When you see that there is no hope, no cure, no happy ending. When you are ready to kneel." The shadows close over her like a curtain falling. And she is gone. The forest is silent. Naruto stands in the center of it, breathing hard, his hands still wrapped around Snow White's cold fingers. His clones are gone. He let them dissipate when the queen left, conserving the chakra he was already running low on. It is just him and the girl and the poisoned apple lying in the dirt. He looks down at her. She is beautiful. Not in the way the queen is beautiful, sharp and perfect and terrible. Snow White's beauty is softer, gentler. The beauty of morning light through a window, of a garden after rain, of something that has grown in the darkness, and somehow found a way to bloom anyway. Her face is peaceful, almost serene. If he did not know better, he would think she was sleeping. "What do I do?" he asks. There is no one to answer. The forest does not speak. The birds are still hiding. The only sound is his own breathing and the faint, fragile whisper of Snow White's lungs drawing air. He sinks down beside her, his back against the oak tree, his shoulder brushing hers. He is so tired. The mission that brought him here, that broke him here, that tore him from his world and his friends and everything he knew, is a blur in his memory. He remembers fighting. Remembers pain. Remembers a light that was not light and a darkness that was not dark and the terrible, stretching moment when he realized he was falling and had no idea where he would land. He landed here. In a forest with a poisoned girl and an evil queen and no one else for miles. He looks at Snow White's face. She looks peaceful. But when he presses his fingers to her throat again, her pulse is slower than it was before. Weaker. The queen's words echo in his head, breath by breath, until there is nothing left. "How long?" he whispers. He doesn't know. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't know this world or its rules or how to save a girl who has been poisoned by magic he doesn't understand. He doesn't know where to go or who to trust or how to get home. He doesn't know if his friends are looking for him, or if they think he's dead or if they're in danger because he's not there to protect them. He doesn't know anything. But he knows one thing. He is not leaving her. The hours pass. Naruto does not sleep. He sits beside Snow White, his hand on her wrist, counting her heartbeats. They slow as the sun sets. They slow as the moon rises. They slow as the forest comes alive with sounds he does not recognize and shadows that move in ways shadows should not move. He keeps watch. When something large crashes through the undergrowth to the east, he is on his feet, a Rasengan forming in his palm. It is only a deer, a stag with antlers like tree branches and eyes that reflect the moonlight like pools of silver. It looks at him for a long moment, then at Snow White, then bounds away into the darkness. Naruto lowers his hands. His legs shake. He is running on empty. His chakra reserves are a hollow ache in his chest, and the last time he ate was, he doesn't remember. Before the mission. Before the fight. Before the fall. He should find food. Should find shelter. Should find someone who knows this world and can tell him what to do. He sits back down beside Snow White. He does not leave her. When the moon is high and the forest is quiet, he talks to her. He doesn't know why. Maybe because the silence is too heavy. Maybe because he needs to hear a voice that isn't his own, even if she can't answer. Maybe because, somewhere deep in his chest, in the place where hope lives even when everything tells it to die, he thinks she might be listening. "My name is Naruto," he says. "Naruto Uzumaki." His voice sounds strange in the darkness. Too loud. Too young. "I'm a ninja. From the Hidden Leaf Village. You probably don't know what that means." He laughs, and it comes out wrong. "I don't know what any of this means. I don't know where I am or how I got here or how to get back. I don't know how to save you." He looks at her face. So still. So quiet. "I'm gonna figure it out, though." He says it like a promise. Like a vow. Like all the other promises he has made in his life. To become Hokage, to save Sasuke, to protect everyone who needs protecting, and has never, ever broken. "I'm gonna find a way to wake you up. And then I'm gonna find that queen, and I'm gonna..." He stops. He doesn't know what he's going to do. Kill her? He has never killed anyone. Hurt her? He doesn't think he could, not like that, not with his hands. But he has to do something. He has to make sure she never hurts anyone again. "I'm gonna stop her," he finishes. "I don't know how. But I will." He settles back against the tree, his shoulder pressed against hers, his eyes fixed on the darkness between the trees. "I promise." Dawn comes slowly. The light filters through the canopy in pale gold streams, touching the forest floor like fingers reaching for something precious. The birds begin to sing. The squirrels emerge. The world wakes up, and Naruto watches it with tired eyes, and Snow White's pulse is slower than it was when the sun set. Naruto is afraid. He has been afraid before. He has faced enemies that could crush him without trying. He has looked at the Kyuubi's power and felt it trying to swallow him whole. He has stood in front of people who wanted him dead and felt his legs shake and his heart race and every instinct scream at him to run. This is different. This is not fear for himself. This is fear for someone else. Someone who trusted too easily and paid the price. Someone who believed in kindness and was punished for it. Someone who is dying slowly, breath by breath, and he does not know how to stop it. He touches her face. Her skin is cold. "I'm not gonna let you die," he says. His voice is rough. His eyes sting. He blinks and looks away, up at the sky, at the light, at anything but her still, peaceful, dying face. "I'm not." He hears them before he sees them. Footsteps. Many of them. Coming from the direction of the path, moving with purpose but without urgency. Voices, low and rough, speaking a language he does not recognize at first but that seems to shift and settle in his ears until he understands it. "Can't believe she left her out here. The Queen's work, it must be. If she's dead, I swear I'll." "Quiet, you fool, she might hear." Naruto is on his feet. His hands form the ram seal before he thinks about it, and a clone pops into existence beside him. He is low on chakra. Too low. But he has faced worse odds. Has fought through more exhaustion. Has protected people who needed protecting, and he will do it again, even if it kills him. The first dwarf appears through the trees. He is short, barely reaching Naruto's waist, with a beard so long it brushes the ground and eyes that have seen too much and trusted too little. He is carrying a pickaxe over one shoulder and a lantern in the other hand, and when he sees Naruto, he stops. "Who the hell are you?" The other dwarves emerge behind him. 6 of them. Each with their own weapon, their own face, their own history written in the lines around their eyes and the scars on their hands. They are not cute. They are not comic. They are survivors. And they are looking at Naruto like he is the enemy. "I found her," Naruto says. He holds his hands up, palms out. There was a woman. A queen. She gave her an apple and she." "Where is she?" The first dwarf's voice cracks. He steps forward, and the others move with him, a wall of grief and fury and desperate hope. "Where is Snow White?" Naruto steps aside. They see her. And the forest is filled with the sound of 7 hearts breaking. The dwarves move around Snow White like water around a stone. They do not speak. They do not cry. They simply exist in her presence, touching her face, her hands, her hair, as if to reassure themselves that she is still there. Still breathing. Still alive. The eldest, the one with the long beard and the deep, tired eyes, kneels beside her and presses his fingers to her throat, just as Naruto did. He holds them there for a long time, counting, waiting, hoping. "She lives," he says finally. "But the life is leaving her. Slowly. Like water through a crack in a cup." One of the other dwarves makes a sound that might be a sob. "The Queen," another says. His voice is hard. "She finally did it. She finally." "We don't have time for that." The eldest dwarf stands. He looks at Naruto, and for a moment there is something in his eyes that might be gratitude or suspicion or both. "You, boy. How did you find her?" "I was in the forest," Naruto says. "I heard something. When I got here, the queen was standing over her. She said she'd poisoned her. Said there was no cure." The dwarves exchange glances. "There is a cure," one of them says quietly. "But it's document." The eldest dwarf's voice is sharp. "We don't know this boy. We don't know who sent him or why. We don't." "He was here when we found her." Doc's voice is soft, but there is steel beneath it. "He could have left. Could have taken her things, let her die, done any number of things. Instead, he stayed." He looks at Naruto. "He stayed." The eldest dwarf is silent for a long moment. Then he sighs. "Take her home," he says. "We'll talk there." They carry her. The dwarves lift Snow White as if she is made of glass, and they move through the forest with a speed and silence that speaks of long practice. Naruto follows, his clone trailing behind to watch their backs, his eyes scanning the trees for shadows that move wrong. He does not trust this forest. He does not trust these dwarves. He does not trust anything in this world except the girl who is dying in their arms, and he is not sure he can trust her either, not because she has done anything wrong, but because she trusted someone she should not have, and that trust might kill her. The dwarf's cottage appears through the trees. It is small, humble. A door that hangs slightly crooked, windows that have been cracked and repaired a dozen times, a garden that has been trampled by too many feet and not enough care. There is a stable in the back and a well in the front, and a chimney that is not smoking because there is no one inside to light the fire. It is a home. It is a home that has been waiting for someone who may never come back. The dwarves carry Snow White inside. They lay her on a bed in the corner, a bed that has been made with clean sheets and fresh flowers, waiting for her return, and they stand around her, silent, helpless, grieving. Naruto stands in the doorway. He does not belong here. He knows it. But he cannot leave. The eldest dwarf, Grumpy, they call him, though Naruto has not heard anyone say it to his face, turns to face him. You said the queen was standing over her when you arrived? Yeah. What happened? Naruto hesitates. He does not know how much to tell them. Does not know if he can trust them. But he looks at Snow White's face, peaceful and still, and he makes a choice. I stopped her. Grumpy's eyebrows rise. You stopped the queen? Yeah. You, a boy, stopped the queen. I didn't fight her, Naruto says. Not really. I made her think twice. Made her wonder if it was worth it. And then she left. The dwarves exchange glances. She left, Doc says slowly. Just left. After waiting all this time to finally. He stops. Swallows. Why would she leave? Naruto does not have an answer. He does not understand it himself. The queen had power, he had felt it, had seen it in the shadows that moved at her command. She could have killed him. Should have killed him. Instead, she had smiled that terrible smile and walked away. I don't know, he admits. But she's not done. She said the poison would take her. Breath by breath. She said there's no cure. The silence that follows is heavy enough to crush. Then, softly, one of the dwarves speaks. She lied. All eyes turn to the speaker. He is the youngest of the dwarves, or at least the youngest looking. His beard is shorter, his eyes are brighter, and there is a fire in his face that the others have learned to bank. His name is Dopey, though Naruto has heard them call him that with a fondness that softens the word. She lied, he repeats. There is a cure. Dopey, Grumpy begins. The kiss of true love, Dopey says. His voice is fierce. It's not a fairy tale. It's not a story. It's real. I've seen it. When my wife. He stops. Swallows. I've seen it. Grumpy's face softens. Dopey, that was different. Your wife she was sick. Her heart was failing. This is poison. Magic. The queen's magic. True love's kiss can't. How do you know? Dopey's voice rises. How do you know what it can and can't do? No one's ever tried. No one's ever dared to hope. But that doesn't mean. Enough. Doc's voice cuts through the argument like a blade. He is standing beside Snow White's bed, his hand on her forehead, his face unreadable. We don't know if true love's kiss will work, he says. But we know one thing. He looks at Naruto. We can't let her die without trying. The cottage is silent. Naruto looks at Snow White's face. At the dwarves gathered around her. At the hope and fear and desperation in their eyes. Then try, he says. Doc shakes his head. It's not that simple. True love's kiss isn't something you can just perform. It has to be real. It has to be earned. It has to come from someone who truly loves her, and she. He stops. She hasn't found that. Not yet. The hope in the room dims. Then what do we do? One of the dwarves asks. Doc is silent for a long moment. Then he looks at Naruto. We wait, he says. We keep her alive as long as we can. And we find a way to break the curse. One way or another. The dwarves do not trust Naruto. He sees it in the way they look at him, in the way they keep their distance, in the way they whisper to each other when they think he cannot hear. He is a stranger. A foreigner. A boy who appeared from nowhere with a story that sounds too much like a lie. He does not blame them. He would not trust him either. But he stays. He stays because Snow White is dying, and he does not know how to save her, but he knows he cannot leave her alone. He stays because the queen is out there, and someone needs to watch the door. He stays because he has nowhere else to go and nothing else to do, and something in his chest, something that has been there since he was a child, alone and hungry and desperate for someone to look at him like he mattered, will not let him walk away. He stays. And on the second night, when the dwarves are asleep and the cottage is quiet and Snow White's breathing is so faint he has to press his ear to her lips to hear it, he makes a choice. He will save her. Or he will die trying. The days pass. Naruto learns the dwarves' names: Doc, Grumpy, Happy, Sleepy, Bashful, Sneezy, and Dopey. He learns their routines, their silences, their grief. He learns that they have been hiding in this forest for years, that they were not always minors, that they once had a kingdom of their own before the queen took it from them. He learns that Snow White found them 6 months ago, lost and alone and still believing that kindness could save the world. He learns that they loved her for it. He learns that they are terrified of losing her. He does not blame them. On the 4th day, Naruto finds Doc standing in the garden, staring at the trampled flowers. She planted these, Doc says without turning around. When she first came. Said every home should have something growing. Something alive. Naruto stands beside him. The flowers are crushed. Broken. The stems bent, and the petals scattered across the dirt. We can fix them, Naruto says. Doc shakes his head. Not without her. They stand in silence for a moment. You're not from here, Doc says finally. It is not a question. No. Where are you from? Naruto hesitates. He does not know how to explain the Hidden Leaf Village, the shinobi world, the life he left behind. He does not know how to explain chakra and jutsu and the fox that sleeps in his chest, waiting to be called. A place far away, he says. A place with different rules. Different magic. Doc nods slowly. And you ended up here. In our forest. On the day the queen finally decided to act. I didn't plan it. I know. Doc turns to look at him. His eyes are kind. I don't know what you are, boy. I don't know where you came from or why you're here. But I know one thing. He looks back at the garden. She would have liked you. Snow White. She would have seen you and thought you were worth trusting. Naruto's throat tightens. How do you know? Doc smiles. It is a sad smile. A tired smile. A smile that has seen too much and hoped too hard and been disappointed too many times. Because she trusted everyone, he says. And somehow, impossibly, she was almost always right. On the 5th day, Snow White stops breathing. It is only for a moment. A heartbeat. A pause between one breath and the next that stretches into forever before her chest rises again, fragile and wrong. But Naruto sees it. He is sitting beside her bed, watching her face, counting her breaths like he has counted them every night since she fell. He sees her chest stop. Sees it start again. Sees the space between breaths grow longer, the rise and fall grow shallower. He does not sleep that night. He does not sleep the next night either. He sits beside her, his hand on her wrist, his thumb pressed against the pulse that is fading, fading, fading. And he talks to her. About his village. About his friends. About the Hokage he will be someday. About ramen and training and the stupid, stubborn hope that has kept him alive through everything. He tells her about Sasuke. About Sakura. About Kakashi-sensei and Jiraiya and all the people who looked at him like he was nothing and the few who looked at him like he was something more. He tells her about the Kyuubi. He does not know why. He has never told anyone about the fox. Not like this. Not in the dark, with a dying girl who cannot hear him, cannot judge him, cannot look at him with fear or pity or disgust. But he tells her. And when he is finished, when his voice is hoarse and his throat is raw and his eyes are wet with tears he refuses to shed, he bows his head and presses his forehead to her cold, cold hand. Please don't die, he whispers. She does not answer. But for one moment, just one, her fingers twitch against his. And Naruto. Naruto hopes. The morning light filters through the cottage windows in pale gold streams, touching everything it finds. The dusty shelves. The cracked dishes. The bed in the corner where Snow White lies with her hands folded over her chest and her face turned toward the ceiling, peaceful as a statue in a garden no one visits anymore. Naruto watches her breathe. In. Out. In. Out. Each breath is a victory. A small one. A fragile one. But a victory nonetheless. He has been sitting beside her bed for 3 days. The dwarves bring him food, bread, cheese, water from the well, and he eats it without tasting it. They try to talk to him, and he answers in monosyllables, his eyes never leaving her face. They offer to take watch, and he shakes his head. He is afraid that if he looks away, she will stop breathing. He is afraid that if he closes his eyes, she will slip away in the darkness. He is afraid. And he does not know what to do with that fear except sit here, in this chair, and watch, and wait, and hope. You need to sleep. Doc's voice is gentle. He is standing in the doorway with a bowl of soup in his hands, his face creased with worry that is not only for Snow White. I'm fine, Naruto says. You're not fine. You're exhausted. You can barely keep your eyes open. Doc crosses the room and sets the soup on the table beside the bed. When was the last time you slept? Really slept? Naruto does not answer. That's what I thought. Doc pulls up a stool and sits across from him. I'll watch her. Just for a few hours. You need rest. I can't. You can. You must. Doc leans forward. Listen to me, boy. I don't know what you are or where you came from. But I know what I see. And what I see is someone who is running on empty. You're no good to her like this. If the queen comes back. She won't. How do you know? Naruto opens his mouth. Closes it. He does not know. He knows nothing about this queen, about her magic, about her plans. He only knows that she left, and that she has not come back, and that every moment she stays away is a gift he does not understand. I don't, he admits. Doc nods slowly. Then let me watch. Just for a few hours. You can sleep in my bed. It's not comfortable, but it's warm. And when you wake up, I'll still be here. She'll still be here. Naruto looks at Snow White. Her face is peaceful. Her chest rises and falls. Her hands are still folded, still cold, still so pale. Just a few hours, he says. Doc smiles. Just a few hours. Naruto does not sleep. He lies in Doc's bed, a narrow cot in a small room at the back of the cottage, and stares at the ceiling. The mattress is thin. The blanket is rough. The pillow smells like dust and old herbs and the faint, sweet scent of something that might be hope. He closes his eyes. He sees Snow White's face. He opens his eyes. He sees the ceiling. He closes them again. He sees the queen's smile. He does not sleep. The cottage is small. Smaller than any house Naruto has ever lived in, and he has lived in some small places. But there is something about it that feels larger than its walls. Something that makes the space feel like a sanctuary instead of a shelter. It is the little things. The flowers on the windowsill, carefully watered even though their planter is cracked. The carvings on the doorframe, birds, trees, a sun with a smiling face, that someone has added over time, one by one. The shelf of books in the corner, worn and well-loved, their spines cracked from being opened so many times. The quilt on Snow White's bed. It is old. Faded. The colors have run together over the years, red bleeding into blue bleeding into gold, so that the patterns are more memory than design. But it is soft. It is warm. It is the only thing in this room that feels like it has been loved. Naruto touches it. The fabric is worn thin in places. Places where hands have held it. Where fingers have traced its patterns. Where someone has pulled it up to their chin on cold nights and felt, for a moment, that they were safe. He pulls his hand back. He does not belong here. The cottage is quiet. The dwarves have gone to work, they have mines to tend, or to dig, a living to make in a world that has no use for them except what they can produce. Naruto is alone with Snow White and the silence, and the weight of his own thoughts. He should get up. Should move. Should find something to do that is not sitting here, watching her breathe, waiting for her to stop. He stays. He stays because he does not know what else to do. He stays because leaving feels like failure. He stays because she is alone. Because she is dying. Because no one should die alone. He knows that better than most. You talk to her. Grumpy's voice startles him. Naruto did not hear the dwarf approach, did not hear anything except the sound of Snow White's breathing and the beating of his own heart. I what? Talk to her. Grumpy is standing in the doorway, his arms crossed over his chest, his face set in its permanent expression of displeasure. Doc says you talk to her? When you're alone. Naruto looks away. Yeah. Sometimes. And she responds? She moves? Twitches? I don't. Her fingers. Doc said her fingers moved. When you talked to her. Naruto's throat tightens. I don't know if it was her. It might have been. It was her. Grumpy's voice is firm. Certain. Doc knows what he's talking about. If he says she moved, she moved. He crosses the room, his boots loud on the wooden floor, and stands at the foot of Snow White's bed. She likes stories. Always did. When she first came here, she used to sit by the fire and tell us tales. Tales of her childhood. Tales of the castle. Tales of. He stops. Swallows. Tales of the way things used to be. Naruto says nothing. Grumpy is silent for a long moment. Then, abruptly, he sits down on the floor at the foot of the bed, his back against the frame, his hands on his knees. There was a prince once, he says. Naruto blinks. What? A prince. In her stories. She talked about him sometimes. A prince who came to the castle when she was young. Who danced with her. Who told her she was beautiful. Grumpy's voice is flat. She believed him. Of course she believed him. She believes everyone. What happened to him? He left. Like they all do. Grumpy looks at Snow White's face. She never mentioned him again. Not after the queen started. He stops. Not after. Naruto looks at Snow White. He thinks about princes who leave. About people who say beautiful things and disappear. About a girl who trusted someone she should not have trusted and paid for it with her life. I'm not leaving, he says. Grumpy looks at him. I didn't ask you to stay. I know. Naruto meets his eyes. But I'm staying anyway. Grumpy holds his gaze for a long, uncomfortable moment. Then, slowly, something in his face shifts. Not softens. Naruto does not think Grumpy softens, but changes. Becomes something that might be acceptance. Fine, he says. But if you hurt her, I won't. You don't know that. You don't know anything. You're a stranger. A foreigner. A boy who showed up out of nowhere with power you won't explain and a story that doesn't make sense. Grumpy's voice rises. She's the only good thing left in this world. The only light. And if you... I know. Grumpy stops. I know what it's like, Naruto says quietly. To have something precious. Something worth protecting. Something that makes the darkness bearable. He looks at Snow White. I won't let anything happen to her. I promise. Grumpy stares at him. Then, slowly, he shakes his head. You're a strange one, he says. Strange and loud and probably trouble. He pushes himself to his feet. But you're also the first person who's offered to help since the queen took the throne. So, he shrugs. Maybe that counts for something. He leaves without looking back. Naruto watches him go. And for the first time since he arrived in this world, he feels something that might be the beginning of trust. The days blur together. Naruto sleeps in shifts, 2 hours here, 3 hours there, always with one eye open, always with his hand near Snow White's wrist. He eats when the dwarves put food in front of him. He washes when the smell of his own body becomes too much to bear. He exists in the space between her breaths, counting, waiting, hoping. On the 7th day, he dreams. He is in the forest again. The trees are taller than they should be, their branches reaching toward a sky that is the color of bruises. The ground is soft beneath his feet, damp with something that might be water or blood or something worse. He walks. He does not know where he is going. He does not know why. He only knows that he must keep moving, that something is waiting for him, that if he stops he will never start again. The trees part. Snow White is sitting at the base of an oak tree, her hands folded in her lap, her face turned toward the sky. She is not dying. She is not pale. She is beautiful and whole and alive, and when she looks at him, her eyes are the color of spring. Hello? She says. Naruto stops. You're awake. I'm always awake, she says. Somewhere. She tilts her head. You talk to me. When I am sleeping. Naruto's face heats. You can hear me? I can hear you. She smiles. It is a small smile. A tired smile. But it is real. You talk a lot. I don't. About your village. About your friends. About the fox that lives inside you. Her smile softens. You are very brave, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto does not know what to say. He stands in the dream forest with the dream Snow White, and he feels something crack open in his chest. Something he has been holding closed since he arrived in this world. Something he did not know was there until this moment. I'm not brave, he says. I'm just someone who doesn't know how to give up. That is bravery, she says. That is the only kind that matters. She reaches out. Her hand is warm in a way her real hand is not, and her fingers brush against his. When I wake, she says, I want to hear about the rest. Naruto's throat tightens. When you wake? When I wake, she repeats. Her eyes meet his. I will wake. I promise. The forest begins to fade. The trees dissolve into light. Snow White's hand slips from his, and she is smiling, and she is saying something he cannot hear, and then Naruto wakes. He is in the chair beside Snow White's bed. His hand is in hers. Her fingers are cold. But her chest is rising and falling. And her lips. Her lips are curved into the ghost of a smile. She smiled. Naruto says it to Doc later that morning, when the dwarves have gathered around the table for breakfast. They all look up. She smiled, he repeats. In her sleep. I saw it. The dwarves exchange glances. It's the poison, Grumpy says. It plays tricks on the mind. Makes you see things that aren't there. It wasn't a trick. You don't know that. You don't know anything about the sleeping death. None of us do. It's the queen's magic. Her special poison. No one's ever survived it. No one's ever. She talked to me. The room goes silent. Naruto's face heats. He did not mean to say that. Did not mean to tell them about the dream, about the forest, about the words that felt so real he can still feel the warmth of her hand against his. She talked to you, Doc says slowly. In my dream, she said she would wake up. She promised. The silence stretches. Then softly Dopey speaks. When my wife was dying, he says, she talked to me. In dreams. She told me things. Things she couldn't say when she was awake. His voice cracks. I thought it was just my mind. Playing tricks. But she knew things. Things she couldn't have known. Things that. He stops. She knew about the fox, Naruto says. She knew about the thing inside me. I never told her. Not while she was awake. But she knew. The dwarves look at each other. Doc is the first to move. He crosses to Snow White's bed, kneels beside it, and takes her hand. He holds it for a long time, his eyes closed, his lips moving silently. When he opens his eyes, they are wet. There's something there, he says. Something fighting. Something that doesn't want to let go. He looks at Naruto. Whatever you're doing, boy. Don't stop. Naruto nods. He does not plan to. The days pass. Naruto talks to Snow White. He tells her about the academy, about the years he spent alone, about the pranks he pulled just to make someone look at him. He tells her about Iruka-sensei, the first person who ever believed in him, and about the way his voice cracked when he said Naruto's name like it mattered. He tells her about Team 7. About Sasuke, who was so angry and so hurt and so afraid of letting anyone close. About Sakura, who was so smart and so strong and so desperate to be seen. About Kakashi-sensei, who read his books and made his jokes and never, ever let anyone see how much he cared. He tells her about the Chunin exams. About Orochimaru. About the forest of death and the moment he first called on the Kyuubi's power and felt something vast and terrible stir in his chest. He tells her about Jiraiya. His voice cracks when he says the name. He has not talked about Jiraiya since the old man died. Has not been able to. But here in this quiet cottage, with a girl who cannot answer, the words come. He tells her about the training. The perving. The way Jiraiya would laugh, loud and ridiculous, and ruffle his hair like he was something precious. The way he looked at Naruto sometimes, when he thought Naruto wasn't watching, and saw someone who could save the world. He tells her about the day Jiraiya left and did not come back. He does not cry. He is close. So close. But he does not cry. He holds Snow White's hand and tells her about the people he has lost and the people he is afraid of losing and the weight of carrying a promise that feels too heavy for his shoulders. And when he is finished, when his voice is hoarse and his throat is raw, he bows his head and waits for the silence. He feels it before he hears it. A pressure. A presence. Something that pushes against the edges of his consciousness like a hand pressing against a window. He looks up. Snow White's eyes are open. She is looking at him. Not through him. Not past him. At him. Her eyes are brown. Deep brown. The color of earth after rain, of tree bark in sunlight, of something that has been growing in the darkness for a very long time and is finally seeing the light. Naruto cannot breathe. Hey, he says. His voice cracks. Snow White's lips part. She tries to speak, but no sound comes out. Her throat works. Her brow furrows. Don't, Naruto says quickly. Don't try to talk. Just rest. I'll get document. He moves to stand, but her hand tightens around his. She is not strong. Her grip is barely there, a whisper of pressure, a ghost of strength. But she holds on. She holds on. And Naruto. Naruto sits back down. You're awake, he says. His voice is strange. Thick. You're actually awake. Her lips curve. It is not the smile from his dream, not the full, warm, alive smile he saw in the forest. It is something smaller. More fragile. A crack in the armor of her stillness. But it is real. And it is for him. The dwarves come running. Doc reaches the bed first, his face pale, his hands shaking. He checks her pulse, her breathing, her pupils. He speaks to her in a low, urgent voice, asking questions she answers with nods and shakes of her head. Grumpy stands in the corner, his arms crossed, his face a mask of stone. But Naruto sees his hands. Sees the way they tremble. Sees the way he wipes at his eyes when he thinks no one is looking. Happy is crying openly, great heaving sobs that shake his whole body. Sleepy keeps nodding off and jerking awake, like he cannot quite believe this is real. Bashful has hidden his face in his hands, and Sneezy keeps sneezing. Allergies, he says, though everyone knows it is the dust and the emotion and the sheer, impossible relief. Dopey is the last to reach the bed. He kneels beside Snow White and takes her hand. His face is wet. His lips are moving, but no sound comes out. And Snow White looks at him, and her smile widens, just a little, and she squeezes his hand. Naruto watches from the doorway. He does not belong here. This is their moment. Their miracle. Their girl waking up from a death that should have been permanent. He turns to leave. Wait. Her voice is barely a whisper. A thread of sound, fragile as spider silk. But it stops him. He turns back. Snow White is looking at him over the dwarves' heads. Her eyes are tired. Her face is pale. But there is something in her expression that he does not understand. Something that makes his chest tight. You stay, she says. Naruto swallows. Yeah. She is silent for a moment. Then, slowly, she lifts her hand, the hand that was holding his, and lets it fall back to the quilt. I know, she says. She closes her eyes. And for a terrible moment, Naruto thinks she is gone again. Thinks the waking was a dream, the smile an illusion, the words a trick of his desperate, exhausted mind. But her chest rises. And falls. And rises again. Doc pats her hand and stands, his face wet, his smile trembling. She's sleeping, he says. Really sleeping. The kind of sleep that heals. He looks at Naruto. She's going to be okay. Naruto nods. He does not trust his voice. He turns and walks out of the cottage, into the garden with its trampled flowers, and stands in the sunlight with his hands over his face, and his shoulders shaking and the tears he has been holding for 7 days finally falling. She sleeps for 2 days. The dwarves take turns watching her, and Naruto lets them. He sits in the garden, in the sun, and watches the flowers begin to straighten. They are not healed, not yet, but they are trying. They are reaching toward the light. He understands. On the 3rd day, Snow White wakes. She is sitting up in bed when Naruto comes in with her breakfast, bread and cheese and a cup of water from the well. Her hair has been brushed. Her face has been washed. She is wearing a clean nightgown, and there is color in her cheeks that was not there before. She looks at him. He stops in the doorway. Good morning, she says. Her voice is stronger now. Still soft. Still quiet. But there is life in it. Real life. The kind of life that comes from lungs that remember how to breathe and a heart that remembers how to hope. Morning, Naruto says. He sets the tray on the table beside her bed and stands there, awkward, not sure what to do with his hands. She picks up the bread and takes a small bite, chewing slowly, deliberately. You talk a lot, she says. Naruto's face heats. You said you wanted to hear about the rest. I did. She takes another bite. I meant it. They are silent for a moment. Thank you, she says. Naruto shakes his head. I didn't do anything. The dwarves. You stayed. The words hang in the air between them. Snow White sets the bread down and looks at him. Really looks. Her eyes are deep, and there is something in them that he cannot name. Something that might be gratitude or curiosity or something else entirely. When I was sleeping, she says, I dreamed. Of a forest. Of a boy with hair like sunlight. She pauses. Of a voice that told me to wake up. Naruto's throat tightens. I wasn't sure if it was real, she continues. But when I opened my eyes, you were there. And I knew. She reaches out. Her hand is still thin, still pale, but it does not shake. You stayed, she says again. And that is more than anyone has done for me in a very long time. Naruto takes her hand. It is warm. I'm not going anywhere, he says. Snow White smiles. It is the smile from his dream. The full, warm, alive smile that reaches her eyes and lights up her face and makes the cottage feel, for one impossible moment, like a home. Good, she says. The days that follow are quiet. Snow White is weak, weaker than she wants to admit, weaker than she lets the dwarves see. She sleeps often, wakes briefly, eats small meals that Doc brings her on a tray. She does not leave the cottage. Does not stand. Does not walk. But she is alive. And that is enough. Naruto stays with her. He sits beside her bed when she sleeps, reads to her from the worn books on the shelf, tells her stories about his world that she listens to with wide, wondering eyes. He does not talk about the queen. Does not talk about the poison. Does not talk about the shadow that hangs over this world like a hand waiting to close. He talks about ramen. About the academy. About the time he painted the Hokage monument, and Irika chased him through the village for 3 hours. She laughs. It is a small laugh. A fragile laugh. But it is real. You painted a mountain, she says, her eyes bright with disbelief. You painted an entire mountain. It was a very big prank. It was vandalism. Art, Naruto says. Everyone said it was art. After they stopped being mad. Snow White shakes her head, but she is smiling. You are very strange, Naruto Uzumaki. You're the one who accepted an apple from someone who tried to kill you. Her smile falters. Naruto's stomach drops. I didn't mean, I wasn't trying to. It's all right. She looks down at her hands. I know it was foolish. Trusting her. After everything she did. After everything she took. Her voice is quiet. But she looked so sad. So lonely. And I thought. She stops. Naruto waits. I thought maybe she just needed someone to see her. Snow White says. To see past the crown and the magic and the terrible things she has done. To see the person underneath. She looks up. Is that foolish? Naruto thinks about Sasuke. About the years of hatred and betrayal and the impossible hope that maybe, somewhere, the boy he called brother was still there. Still fighting. Still worth saving. No, he says. It's not foolish. Snow White looks at him for a long moment. Then she reaches out and takes his hand. You understand, she says. More than you say. Naruto does not answer. He does not need to. On the 5th day after she wakes, Snow White walks. It is not far. From her bed to the window, her hand on Naruto's arm, her legs trembling with each step. But she makes it. She stands in the sunlight, looking out at the garden, at the flowers that are beginning to bloom again, at the forest that tried to kill her and could not quite succeed. It's beautiful, she says. Naruto stands beside her. It's getting there. She looks at him. You helped them. The flowers. Doc said you watered them every day. They needed it. They needed someone to care. She turns back to the window. You have that. Caring. It's in everything you do. In the way you talk about your friends. In the way you sat beside me when I was sleeping. In the way you look at this world like it could be saved. Naruto shifts. I don't. You do. Her voice is gentle. I have seen many people, Naruto. I have seen cruelty and kindness, hope and despair. I have seen people who care and people who pretend to care and people who wish they could care but are too afraid to try. She meets his eyes. You are not afraid. He wants to tell her that he is afraid. That he is terrified, every moment, of failing, of losing, of being the person everyone expected him to be instead of the person he is trying to become. But she is looking at him like he is something more. And for a moment, he lets himself believe it. That night, Naruto dreams again. He is in the forest. The trees are tall, but they are not threatening. The sky is dark, but it is not terrible. There are stars. Real stars. The kind of stars that have been there forever, watching, waiting, holding the darkness at bay. Snow White is waiting for him at the base of the oak. She is standing this time. Her hair is loose around her shoulders, and she is wearing a dress the color of spring, and when she sees him, she smiles. You came, she says. You're here. I am always here. Somewhere. She steps toward him. You are tired, Naruto. You have been carrying too much for too long. He wants to deny it. Wants to tell her that he is fine, that he has carried more, that he can carry anything as long as it means someone else does not have to. But he is tired. And she is looking at him like she knows. You don't have to carry it alone, she says. You don't have to carry anything alone. That is what I learned. That is what you taught me. She takes his hands. When I was sleeping, you sat beside me. When I was afraid, you talked to me. When I woke, you were there. That is what it means to care for someone. That is what it means to be cared for. Naruto's throat tightens. I don't know how to do this, he says. I don't know how to save this world. I don't know how to stop her. I don't know how to get home. I don't know anything. You don't need to know everything. Her hands tighten around his. You just need to be here. Now. With me. That is enough. He looks at her. She looks at him. And in the space between one breath and the next, something shifts. Something that has been growing since the moment he found her in the forest, since the moment he sat beside her bed, since the moment she opened her eyes and looked at him like he mattered. He does not have a name for it. But it is there. And when he wakes, her hand is in his, and her eyes are open, and she is smiling at him like she has been waiting for him to come back. Good morning, she says. Morning, he says. And for the first time since he arrived in this world, he does not feel alone. The cottage wakes before dawn. Naruto knows this now, knows the rhythm of this place, the way the dwarves move through their days like clockwork, each one carrying a piece of the life they have built in the shadow of the queen's reign. Grumpy is first, stoking the fire before anyone else stirs. Doc follows, checking his herbs, his medicines, the stores of dried mushrooms and preserved berries that will see them through the winter. The others drift in after, yawning and scratching and reaching for the pot of porridge that has been simmering since the night before. They do not speak much in the mornings. There is not much to say. Snow White is awake now, and that is enough. That is everything. But the silence that fills the cottage is not the silence of grief. It is the silence of people who have learned to conserve their words, to hold them close, to spend them only when they matter. Naruto sits at the table with them. He has been here for 12 days. 12 days since the apple fell. 12 days since he found a dying girl in the forest and decided, for reasons he still does not fully understand, that he would not let her go. The dwarves do not stare at him anymore. They do not whisper when he passes. They do not exchange glances that mean stranger in danger and should we trust him. They give him porridge in the morning and bread at midday and a place by the fire at night. They ask him questions, about his world, about his village, about the fox they can feel humming beneath his skin, and they listen to his answers with the quiet attention of people who have learned to hear what is not being said. They are not friends. Not yet. But they are something. You're thinking too loud. Naruto looks up. Snow White is sitting across from him, her hands wrapped around a cup of tea, her face soft in the firelight. She has been awake for longer stretches now, hours instead of minutes, whole afternoons instead of fragments. The color has returned to her cheeks. The light has returned to her eyes. But she is still weak. Still fragile. Still recovering from a wound no medicine can heal. Sorry, he says. I was just thinking. She smiles. I know. You do it more than you let on. Naruto shifts in his chair. He is not used to being seen like this. Not used to someone looking at him and knowing that there is more beneath the noise, beneath the jokes, beneath the mask of the loud, brash boy who never knows when to be quiet. You should eat more, he says, nodding at her half-full bowl. Doc said you need your strength. I am eating. You've had 3 bites. I am eating slowly. Her smile widens. It is not a race, Naruto. He opens his mouth to argue, then closes it. She is teasing him. He recognizes it now, the way her eyes crinkle at the corners, the slight tilt of her head, the warmth that spreads through her voice like sunlight through a window. He does not know how to respond to teasing. He never has. But he is learning. The morning passes. The dwarves leave for the mines, their pickaxes slung over their shoulders, their faces set toward the work that has fed them for years. Grumpy pauses at the door, his hand on the frame, and looks back at Snow White. Don't let him talk your ear off, he says. Boy never shuts up. I have noticed, Snow White says. Grumpy's mouth twitches. It is not quite a smile. Naruto is not sure Grumpy can smile, but it is close. He leaves without another word, and the door closes behind him, and the cottage settles into the quiet that has become familiar over the past days. Snow White finishes her tea. Naruto watches her. You are staring, she says. Sorry. Don't be. She sets her cup down. I am not used to it. Being watched. She pauses, searching for the word. Being seen. The dwarves see me, but they see what they want to see. What they need to see. You see. She looks at him. What do you see, Naruto? He does not have an answer. Or rather, he has too many answers. He sees a girl who trusted too easily and paid too high a price. He sees a princess without a kingdom, a child without a mother, a survivor who has been hunted by someone who should have protected her. He sees kindness in a world that has tried to crush it, hope in a world that has tried to snuff it out, light in a world that has been drowning in darkness for so long that most people have forgotten what light looks like. He sees someone who needs protecting. And someone who deserves to be protected. I see someone who's still here, he says finally. Someone who didn't give up, even when it would have been easier. Snow White is quiet for a long moment. Then she reaches across the table and takes his hand. Her fingers are warm. They are always warm now, warmer than they were in the days after she woke, when her skin was still cold and her pulse was still fragile and he was still afraid that any breath might be her last. You are kind, she says. I think you try to hide it. Behind the loud voice and the big talk and the way you pretend not to care. But you are kind. And I. She stops. Her eyes widen. And Naruto feels it too. The shift in the air. The weight that settles over the cottage like a blanket made of lead. The silence that is not the comfortable silence of a morning spent in quiet company, but the terrible silence of a world that has stopped breathing. He is on his feet before he knows he has moved. His hands form the ram's seal. A clone appears beside him, then another, 5 in total, each one a fraction of his chakra, each one ready to fight or die or do whatever is necessary to protect the girl behind him. What is it? Snow White's voice is calm. Too calm. The voice of someone who has learned to hide her fear behind walls of courtesy and grace. Naruto does not answer. He is listening. The forest is silent. No birds. No wind. No rustle of leaves or snap of twigs or any of the thousand small sounds that make up the fabric of this place. The silence is complete. Absolute. And in that silence, Naruto hears something. Breathing. Not his own. Not Snow White's. Not the dwarves, who are miles away in the mines. Something else. Something watching. The door opens. Naruto's clones move before he can think, forming a wall of orange between Snow White and whatever, is standing in the doorway. But there is no one there. The door swings open on its hinges, revealing the garden, the well, the forest beyond. The morning light falls on the trampled flowers, on the cracked path, on the stillness of a world that has forgotten how to move. Naruto's clones do not relax. He does not relax. He knows this feeling. Knows the weight of being watched, the prickle at the back of his neck, the instinct that has saved his life 100 times in 100 battles. Something is here. Something he cannot see. Snow White, he says, not taking his eyes off the door. Get behind me. She does not argue. He hears her chair scrape against the floor, hears her footsteps light and quick, feels her presence at his back. She does not touch him, does not cling. But he knows she is there, and that is enough. The breathing grows louder. It is not coming from the door. It is coming from everywhere. From the walls, from the floor, from the ceiling beams and the empty fireplace and the shadowed corners where the light does not reach. The cottage is breathing. The whole world is breathing, and in that breath, Naruto hears something that makes his blood run cold. You cannot protect her forever. The voice is not a voice. It is a thought that does not belong to him, pressing against his mind like fingers against a window. He shoves it away, and his clones tighten their formation, and Snow White makes a small sound behind him. Fear, he realizes, pure and simple and human. Naruto, she whispers. What is it? He does not answer. Because the door is closing. Slowly, deliberately, inch by inch, as though invisible hands are pushing it, and the light is shrinking, and the cottage is growing darker, and the shadows in the corners are not shadows anymore but something else. Something that moves. Something that has teeth. The first shadow strikes. It comes from the ceiling, a tendril of darkness that lashes down like a whip, faster than Naruto can track. 2 of his clones are gone before he can call out a warning, dissipating into smoke that the shadows drink like water. He does not wait for the second strike. His hands move. The ram seal, the boar, the ox. He does not think, does not plan, does not let the fear in his chest become anything but fuel for the fire in his hands. A Rasengan forms in his palm, spinning, screaming, lighting up the darkness with its blue-white fury. He throws it at the ceiling. The shadows scream. It is not a sound Naruto has heard before, not quite a sound at all, more like a vibration, a frequency that makes his teeth ache and his vision blur. The Rasengan tears through the darkness, and for a moment, light floods the cottage, bright and pure and terrible. In that moment, Naruto sees them. The shadows have faces. Not human faces. Something older. Something that was old when the first tree grew in this forest, when the first river carved its path through the stone, when the first creature opened its eyes and looked at the world and felt the hunger that drives all living things. They are hungry now. And they are reaching for Snow White. Naruto moves. He does not think about the chakra he is burning through. Does not think about the exhaustion that sits in his bones like lead. Does not think about the fox in his chest, stirring, waking, pressing against the walls of its cage. He thinks about the girl behind him. He thinks about her smile. Her laugh. The way she looks at him like he is something more than a loud, stupid, lonely boy who spent his childhood eating stale bread and dreaming of a face he could not remember. He thinks about the promise he made in the forest. I'm gonna figure it out. He throws himself between Snow White and the shadows. The darkness hits him like a wave. It is cold. Colder than anything he has ever felt. Colder than the winter nights he spent alone in his apartment, wrapped in a blanket that was too thin, dreaming of a warmth that never came. It seeps into his skin, into his bones, into the space behind his eyes where something vast and golden stirs and wakes. Boy. The voice is not the queen's. It is older. Deeper. A voice that has been sleeping for a very long time and does not appreciate being disturbed. What have you gotten yourself into now? Naruto does not have time for this. Not now, Kurama. The shadows are eating you alive, brat. If I do not act. I said not now. He shoves the fox back. Not with force, he could never match Kurama's strength, but with something else. Something that has grown between them over the years. Something that might be trust or respect or the strange, impossible bond that forms between 2 souls who have shared a body for too long to be strangers. I can handle this. The fox is silent. But Naruto feels its attention turn outward. Feels its eyes, one red, one gold, open behind his own. Feels the weight of its presence settle at the edges of his consciousness, ready to act if he falls. He will not fall. He cannot. The shadows recoil. They do not fear him. He knows that. They are older than fear, older than the world that birthed them. But there is something in him that they do not recognize. Something that does not belong in this world of poison apples and evil queens and magic that bends the rules of nature. Something that burns. Naruto's hands are glowing. It is not the blue-white light of the Rasengan. It is something softer. Warmer. The color of sunlight through honey, of candlelight through glass, of the first light of dawn breaking over a world that has been drowning in darkness. He does not understand it. But he does not question it. He turns to face the shadows, and the light spreads from his hands to his arms, from his arms to his chest, from his chest to the space around him. The cottage is no longer dark. It is filled with light, soft, golden, gentle, and the shadows are shrinking, retreating, pulling back into the corners where they came from. The door opens. Sunlight floods the cottage. And the shadows are gone. Snow White is on the floor. She must have fallen when he moved, when the shadow struck, when the light exploded from his hands. She is sitting against the wall, her arms wrapped around her knees, her face pale but her eyes steady. She is looking at him. Not at the light fading from his hands. Not at the Rasengan he is still holding, though he has forgotten it is there. Not at the 5 clones standing guard around her, their faces mirroring his own confusion and relief. She is looking at him. And she is not afraid. "You are glowing," she says. Naruto looks down at his hands. The light is fading now, receding back into his skin like water soaking into sand. But for a moment, just a moment, it was there. Real. Impossible. He starts. "I don't know what that was." She pushes herself to her feet. Her legs shake, and she has to brace herself against the wall, but she does not fall. She crosses the room to him, and her hands find his, and she holds them in her own. "It was light," she says simply. "You brought light into the darkness." Naruto shakes his head. "That wasn't me. I can't." "You can." Her voice is firm. "You did. The shadows are gone. We are safe." She squeezes his hands. "You did that, Naruto." He wants to argue. Wants to tell her that he does not understand what happened, that he does not understand anything about this world, that the light that came from his hands was not his and he does not know how to call it again. But she is looking at him. And in her eyes, he sees something he has been looking for his whole life. Belief. The dwarves return at dusk. They find Naruto and Snow White at the kitchen table, playing a game of cards that Happy taught them 3 days ago. Snow White is winning, she always wins, and Naruto is pretending to be frustrated, and the cottage is warm and bright and filled with the smell of the stew Doc left simmering before he left. Grumpy stops in the doorway. His eyes sweep the room. The table. The fire. The faces of the 2 people sitting in the light. "You're still here," he says. It is not a question. Naruto looks up. "Yeah." Grumpy nods slowly. He does not smile, he never smiles, but something in his face shifts. Something that might be the beginning of acceptance. "Good," he says. He walks to his chair by the fire and sits down, and the other dwarves file in behind him, and the cottage fills with the sounds of life returning. Boots on the floor. Voices in the kitchen. The clatter of bowls and spoons and 1,000 small noises that make a home. Naruto looks at Snow White. She is smiling at him. "You see?" she says quietly. "You are one of us now." He does not know if that is true. Does not know if he belongs here, in this strange world with its magic and its shadows and its girl who believes in him more than she should. But for now, for tonight, he lets himself believe it. The night is quiet. The dwarves sleep. The cottage settles. The fire burns down to embers, casting long shadows that do not move, do not reach, do not remember what they were in the light. Naruto sits by the window. He cannot sleep. The memory of the shadows is too close, the feeling of them pressing against his skin, the cold that seeped into his bones and did not quite leave. He watches the forest, watches the darkness between the trees, watches for movement that should not be there. He hears her before he sees her. Her footsteps are soft. Bare feet on wooden floors. She has learned to move quietly in this cottage, learned to navigate the spaces between sleep and waking without disturbing the peace. She sits beside him. "You should rest," she says. "So should you." She does not argue. She leans against the window frame, her face turned toward the forest, and for a long moment they are silent. "What happened today?" she says finally. "The shadows. The light." She looks at him. "You knew what they were." Naruto shakes his head. "I knew what they felt like. I've felt something like that before. In my world. There are people, things, that use shadows. That use darkness." He pauses. "The Queen sent them. To test us. To see if I would fight." "And you did?" "I had to." Snow White is quiet for a moment. "In my world," she says, "there is a story. A legend. About a warrior who came from beyond the veil to save a kingdom that had forgotten how to hope. She looks at him. I used to think it was just a story. Naruto's throat tightens. I'm not a warrior. I'm just. You are Naruto Uzumaki. Her voice is gentle. You are the boy who stayed. The boy who talked to me when I was sleeping. The boy who brought light into the darkness when the shadows came for me. She reaches out and touches his hand. That is enough. That is more than enough. He does not know what to say. So he does not say anything. He sits beside her, in the darkness, and watches the forest, and lets himself feel the warmth of her hand against his. And for the first time since he arrived in this world, he does not feel like a stranger. Morning comes. The dwarves wake. The fire is stoked. The porridge is stirred. The rhythm of the cottage resonates, and Naruto moves through it like a man who has finally learned the steps. Grumpy catches him at the well. You fought them, he says. The shadows. Naruto pauses, the bucket half raised from the water. You know about them. We all know about them. They've been here since the queen took the throne. Since she started. He stops. They come at night. Sometimes. Not every night. Not enough to drive us out. But enough to remind us that she's watching. He looks at Naruto. She sent them yesterday. Because of her. Because she's awake. His voice is hard. The queen won't stop. She won't rest until Snow White is dead. That's what she does. That's what she's always done. Naruto sets the bucket down. Then we stop her first. Grumpy's eyebrows rise. You think it's that easy? You think you can just walk up to her castle and... I didn't say it would be easy. Naruto meets his eyes. But I've faced worse. I've faced things that would make your queen run screaming. And I'm still here. He pauses. I'm not going to let her hurt Snow White. I promised. Grumpy stares at him. For a long moment, neither of them speaks. Then Grumpy nods. Fine, he says. But if you're going to fight her, you need to know what you're up against. He turns toward the cottage. There are things you need to understand about this world. About the queen. About the power she wields. He looks back over his shoulder. And about what happens when someone tries to stand against her and fails. Naruto follows him inside. And for the first time, he begins to understand the weight of what he has promised to do. The dwarves gather around the table. Doc brings out a map, old, yellowed, the edges crumbling, and spreads it across the worn wood. It shows the forest, the mines, the river, and beyond them, the castle. The Queen's castle. It sits at the center of the map like a spider at the center of a web. Dark lines radiate from it in every direction, reaching into the forest, into the mountains, into the villages that used to dot the countryside but are now marked with small, faded X's. She has been here for 100 years, Doc says. Or more. No one remembers anymore. She came from somewhere else, another kingdom, another world, no one knows, and she took the throne. The old king died. The queen died. There were wars. There were plagues. There were... He stops. There were children, Dopey says quietly. She took the children. Anyone who could challenge her. Anyone who could grow up to be strong enough to fight her. She took them, and no one ever saw them again. Naruto looks at the map. He thinks about his world. About the villages that were destroyed, the families that were torn apart, the children who were taken and never came back. He thinks about the people who could have stopped it, who should have stopped it, who stood by and watched because they were afraid. He is not afraid. Or rather, he is afraid, terrified, always, every moment, but he has learned to act anyway. How do we stop her? He asks. The dwarves exchange glances. You don't, Grumpy says. That's the thing. No one stops her. No one can. She has power that none of us understand. Magic that bends the rules of the world. She can't be killed. Can't be hurt. Can't even be touched by anyone who doesn't have. He trails off. Doesn't have what? Naruto presses. Grumpy looks at document. Doc looks at Snow White. She has been standing at the edge of the circle, listening, her face pale but her eyes steady. Now she steps forward. True love, she says quietly. The only thing the queen fears. The only thing her magic cannot touch. Naruto stares at her. There's a legend, she continues. Older than the queen. Older than this kingdom. It says that the queen's power comes from the darkness. From loneliness. From the emptiness inside her that she has filled with hatred for so long that she has forgotten there was ever anything else. She looks at Naruto. And the only thing that can defeat darkness is light. The kind of light that comes from someone who loves without expectation. Who protects without reward. Who sees the good in the world and refuses to let it go. The room is silent. Naruto's heart is beating too fast. He does not understand what she is saying, not entirely, but he understands enough. Understands that the queen is not just powerful. Understands that she cannot be beaten with strength alone. Understands that the thing he has been feeling since he arrived in this world, the thing that makes him sit beside her bed, that makes him watch the forest for shadows, that makes him want to protect her with everything he has, might be more than just kindness. He does not know what to call it. He is not sure he wants to know. We'll find another way, he says. His voice is rougher than he intended. There's always another way. Snow White looks at him for a long moment. Then she smiles. It is a sad smile. A knowing smile. The smile of someone who has spent her whole life hoping for things that never came, and who has not quite given up hope, but has learned to be careful with it. Of course, she says. There is always another way. But her eyes say something else. And Naruto pretends not to see it. The days pass. Naruto trains. He does not have the space he needs, does not have the enemies he needs, does not have anything but his hands and his will and the fox that stirs in his chest when he pushes too hard. But he trains anyway. Shadow clones in the garden, raisin gans in the clearing behind the cottage, chakra exercises that leave him sweating and shaking and too tired to dream. Snow White watches him sometimes. She sits on the cottage steps, her hands folded in her lap, her eyes following his movements. She does not understand what he is doing, does not understand chakra or jutsu or the strange, spinning sphere of light that forms in his palm, but she watches anyway. You are very fast, she says one afternoon, when he has collapsed on the grass beside her, breathing hard. I'm not fast enough. You will be. He looks at her. She is not looking at him. She is looking at the sky, at the clouds, at the light filtering through the leaves of the ancient oak that stands at the edge of the garden. I have to go to the castle, he says. Her hands tighten in her lap. I know. There's no other way. She won't stop. Not while you're alive. Not while anyone who could challenge her is alive. He sits up, his elbows on his knees, his eyes on the ground. I have to go. And I have to go soon. She is silent for a long moment. When? She asks. He does not answer. He does not know. Does not know if he is ready, if he will ever be ready, if he can face the queen and her shadows and her magic without the things that have always carried him through, his friends, his village, the people who believe in him. But he knows one thing. He cannot stay here forever. That night, he dreams again. He is in the forest. The oak tree is there, and the sky is dark, and the stars are out. Snow White is waiting for him at the base of the tree, her hair loose, her dress the color of spring. You are leaving, she says. It is not a question. I have to. She nods slowly. I know. She steps toward him. I have always known. Since the moment you found me in the forest. Since the moment you sat beside my bed and talked to me when I could not answer. You are not from this world, Naruto. You do not belong here. The words hurt more than they should. I want to help you, he says. I want to. You have helped me. Her voice is gentle. More than you know. More than I can ever say. She takes his hands. But you cannot stay. You have a world of your own. People who need you. People who are waiting for you to come home. He wants to argue. Wants to tell her that he does not know if he can go home, does not know if the path that brought him here can be reversed, does not know anything except that he does not want to leave her alone. You are not leaving me alone, she says, as if she can hear his thoughts. You are giving me the chance to be strong. To fight for myself. To believe that I can survive without someone standing in front of me. He shakes his head. That's not. It is. She squeezes his hands. You have taught me something, Naruto. Something I had forgotten. Strength is not just about protecting others. It is about letting them protect themselves. About trusting them to stand on their own. She smiles. I am not the girl who ate the apple anymore. I am not the girl who trusted the queen because she looked sad. I am someone else now. Someone stronger. And I owe that to you. His throat is tight. He cannot speak. Snow White steps closer. Go to the castle. she says. Fight the queen. Win if you can. But know that whatever happens, I will be here. And I will be fighting too. In my own way. For my own world. She reaches up and touches his face. Her hand is warm. Come back, she says. When it is over. Come back, and tell me the rest of your story. He wakes. The room is dark. The cottage is quiet. Snow White is sleeping in her bed across the room, her face peaceful, her chest rising and falling in the rhythm of dreams. He watches her for a long time. And in the darkness, he makes a choice. The messenger comes at midnight. Naruto is sitting by the window when he hears it, the soft beat of wings, the rustle of feathers against the night air. He is on his feet before the sound registers, his hands already forming the ram's seal, a clone shimmering into existence beside him. The owl lands on the windowsill. It is not a normal owl. Its feathers are too white, its eyes too red, its presence too heavy for something so small. It carries a scroll in its talons, black paper, black ribbon, black wax seal stamped with a symbol Naruto has learned to recognize. The queen's crest. He reaches for the scroll, and the owl's eyes track his movement. There is intelligence in those red eyes. Hunger. The intelligence of something that has been shaped by magic into a form it was never meant to take. I wouldn't. Snow White's voice comes from behind him. She is standing in the doorway of her room, wrapped in a blanket, her hair loose around her shoulders. Her face is pale, but her voice is steady. They carry curses. The queen's messengers. If you touch the scroll, the curse passes to you. Naruto's hand freezes inches from the black paper. The owl watches him. Then how do I read it? He asks. You don't. She crosses the room, her feet silent on the wooden floor. You let it speak. She stops beside him, close enough that he can feel the warmth of her through the blanket. The owl's eyes shift to her, and something in its posture changes. Not fear. Naruto does not think the queen's creatures can feel fear, but recognition. Speak, Snow White says. Her voice is different. Stronger. The voice of someone who was born to rule, who learned command before she learned kindness, and who has not forgotten either. The scroll unrolls. The black paper is blank, but the owl opens its beak, and a voice comes out. Not the owl's voice. Something older. Something that makes the air in the cottage grow cold, and the fire in the hearth gutter and die. Little princess. Snow White does not flinch. You have something that belongs to me. The voice curls through the room like smoke, finding the cracks in the walls, the gaps in the windows, the spaces between breath and breath where fear lives. A life. A throne. A world that should have been mine from the beginning. Snow White's hand finds Naruto's. Her fingers are cold, but her grip is firm. You think the boy can protect you. You think his light can keep the darkness at bay. You are wrong. The owl's red eyes glow brighter. I have waited 100 years for this kingdom. I have crushed kings and queens and heroes who thought they could stand against me. I have torn down castles and burned forests, and erased the names of those who defied me from the memory of the world. Your boy is nothing. His light is nothing. And when I take him from you, when I tear him apart and scatter his pieces across the 7 kingdoms, you will watch. And you will know, in the final moment before I end you, that there was never any hope. The voice stops. The scroll goes still. The owl stares at them with its red eyes, and Naruto feels something stir in his chest. Not Kurama. Something else. Something that has been sleeping since the day he arrived in this world and is waking now, slowly, in answer to the queen's threat. He steps forward. His hand closes around the scroll. Naruto. Snow White's voice is sharp with fear. He ignores her. The paper is cold. Colder than ice. Colder than the shadows that attack the cottage. It burns against his palm, and he feels the curse trying to take root, trying to crawl up his arm, into his chest, into the place where his heart beats, and his blood flows and his soul remembers who he is. He does not let it. He holds the scroll up to his face, and he looks into the owl's red eyes, and he speaks. Tell your queen something for me. His voice is not loud. It does not need to be. Tell her I'm coming. He crushes the scroll in his fist. The paper disintegrates, turns to ash, falls through his fingers like snow made of darkness, and the owl screams, a sound that is not a sound, that tears through the cottage and makes the windows rattle and the walls groan, and then it is gone. Beating wings. White feathers. Red eyes fading into the night. The cottage is silent. The fire is dead. Naruto stands in the darkness with ash on his hands and the echo of the queen's voice in his ears, and he does not feel afraid. He feels ready. The dwarves gather at dawn. They found the fire dead and the cottage cold, and Naruto sitting by the window, watching the light creep over the forest. Snow White is beside him, still wrapped in her blanket, her face drawn but her eyes clear. Grumpy takes one look at them and knows. She sent a messenger, he says. It is not a question. Naruto nods. An owl. With a scroll. She wanted us to know she's coming. Doc's face is pale. She's never sent a messenger before. Not to us. Not to anyone who wasn't. He stops. Who wasn't about to die? Dopey finishes quietly. The words hang in the air. Naruto looks at them, 7 survivors who have spent years hiding in this forest, waiting for a death that has not come, hoping for a miracle that has not arrived. They are afraid. He can see it in the set of their shoulders, in the way their hands curl into fists, in the way they look at Snow White like they are already mourning her. He understands. He has been afraid his whole life. But he has also learned something about fear. Something that the queen, for all her power and all her years, has never understood. Fear is not the enemy. Giving up is the enemy. She's afraid, he says. The dwarves stare at him. What? Grumpy's voice is sharp. She's not afraid of anything. She's the queen. She's afraid. Naruto stands. Think about it. She sent a messenger. A threat. She didn't come herself. She didn't send her shadows. She sent words. Because she wants us to be afraid. Because she wants us to run. Because if we run, she wins without having to fight. He looks at Snow White. And she's afraid of you. Snow White's eyes widen. Me? You're the one she's been hunting. The one she's been trying to destroy. Because you're the one thing she can't control. The one thing she can't predict. He pauses. The one thing that reminds her that there's still good in this world. The room is silent. Naruto turns back to the dwarves. She's coming. I don't know when. I don't know how. But she's coming. And when she does, I'm going to be there. I'm going to fight her. And I'm going to win. He does not know if it is true. Does not know if he can beat the queen, with her magic and her shadows and her 100 years of cruelty. But he knows that he has to try. Knows that he has to stand between her and the people in this room. Knows that he has to be the shield that protects the light. He has done it before. He will do it again. We need to prepare, he says. We need to know everything about her. Her magic. Her castle. Her weaknesses. He looks at document. You said there were others who tried to fight her. What happened to them? Doc's face tightens. They died. All of them. Some quickly. Some. He stops. Some slowly. Tell me anyway. The story takes hours. Doc speaks while the others listen, his voice low and steady, the voice of a man who has spent a lifetime remembering things he wishes he could forget. He tells them about the first rebellion, the lords and ladies who rose up against the queen when she first took the throne. They had armies. They had magic. They had the blessing of the old gods and the loyalty of the people. They lasted 3 days. The queen turned their armies against each other. Made the generals see enemies where there were friends, monsters where there were children. By the time the sun set on the 3rd day, the rebellion had destroyed itself, and the lords and ladies were kneeling before the queen, begging for mercy she did not give. He tells them about the heroes who came after. The knights who rode alone to the castle, swords gleaming, hearts burning with righteousness. The mages who tried to match the queen's magic with their own. The assassins who crept through the shadows, hoping to strike before she could strike back. None of them returned. Some of them were found. Days later. Weeks later. Pieces of them scattered across the kingdom like warnings written in flesh and bone. He tells them about the children. The ones who were taken. The ones who were never seen again. The ones who might have grown up to be strong enough to challenge the queen, if they had been allowed to grow up at all. He does not know what happened to them. No one does. But he knows that the queen stopped taking children 50 years ago. Not because she stopped needing to. Because there were no children left to take. Because she had already taken them all. The room is silent when he finishes. Naruto's hands are fists at his sides. His jaw is tight. His chest is filled with something that might be rage or grief or the terrible, burning need to make things right. She has to be stopped, he says. We know, Grumpy says. We've always known. But knowing and doing are different things. Not for me. He stands. The chair scrapes against the floor, loud in the silence, and the dwarves look up at him with faces that are tired and old and full of a hope they have been trying to kill for years. I'm going to the castle, he says. Tomorrow. At dawn. Snow White rises. I'm coming with you. The words hit him like a physical blow. No. You can't stop me. I can. I will. He turns to face her. You're not strong enough. You're still. I am still the one she wants. Her voice is calm. Steady. The voice of a princess who has spent her whole life learning to be heard. If you go alone, she will kill you. She will use her magic, her shadows, her tricks, and you will die, and then she will come for me anyway. She steps toward him. But if I am there, she will focus on me. She cannot help it. She has been hunting me for too long. Her hatred for me is the only thing that has kept her alive for 100 years. It is her strength. And it is her weakness. You don't know that. I know her. Snow White's eyes are bright. I have lived with her hatred my whole life. I have felt it in every shadow, every whisper, every moment of every day. She wants me dead. She wants to see the life leave my eyes. And that need, that hunger, it makes her blind. Naruto shakes his head. I'm not risking your life. You are not risking it. I am. She takes his hands. This is my kingdom, Naruto. My people. My fight. You came here by accident. You stayed because you are kind. But this is not your burden to carry alone. He wants to argue. Wants to tell her that she does not understand, that he has been carrying burdens his whole life, that he would rather carry 1,000 burdens than let her walk into the queen's castle and face the woman who has been trying to kill her since she was a child. But she is looking at him. And in her eyes, he sees something he recognizes. The same thing he sees in the mirror sometimes, when he has pushed himself too far and fought too hard and refused to give up when everyone else would have walked away. Determination. Pure. Stubborn. Impossible. Fine, he says. But you stay behind me. You stay out of the way. You let me fight. She smiles. It is a small smile. A sad smile. But there is something in it that makes his chest tight. I can do that, she says. She does not let go of his hands. And for a moment, neither of them moves. The night is long. Naruto does not sleep. He sits by the window, watching the forest, feeling the weight of the hours passing. Snow White is beside him, wrapped in her blanket, her head resting against his shoulder. She is not sleeping either. He can tell by the way she breathes, too carefully, too deliberately, like she is trying not to disturb him. You should rest, he says. So should you. He almost smiles. We've had this conversation before. We will have it again. She shifts, tucking her feet beneath her. I am not tired. Or I am too tired to sleep. I cannot tell which. He understands. He has spent too many nights like this. Too many hours staring at the ceiling, waiting for dawn, waiting for the moment when he would have to get up and fight again. There is a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from knowing what is coming. A heaviness that sits in the bones and does not lift until the fight is over. We're going to win, he says. She does not answer. He looks at her. Her face is half turned toward the window, toward the darkness, toward the castle that sits somewhere beyond the trees. You don't believe me. I want to believe you. Her voice is quiet. I have been wanting to believe in something for a very long time. But hope is... She pauses. Hope is dangerous. It makes you want things. It makes you believe that things can be different. And when they are not different, when nothing changes, the hope turns into something else. Something that hurts more than fear. Naruto knows that feeling. He has felt it 1,000 times. In the orphanage, waiting for parents who never came. In the academy, watching other children go home to families that would never be his. In the village, standing on the edges of crowds, watching people who looked at him like he was nothing and wondering if they were right. He knows what it is like to hope for something that never comes. And he knows what it is like to hope anyway. Maybe, he says. But I've learned something. About hope. About the people who say it's dangerous. He looks at her. They're not wrong. It is dangerous. It can hurt. It can break you. But you know what's worse? She shakes her head. Giving up. His voice is rough. Giving up means you stop trying. Stop believing. Stop hoping that things can be different. And if you stop hoping, then they're right. The people who say the world is dark and cruel and nothing will ever change. They win. Because you stopped fighting. Snow White is silent for a long moment. Then she reaches out and takes his hand. You are very strange, she says. You are loud and foolish and you do not know when to be quiet. But you are also… She pauses. You are also the bravest person I have ever met. Naruto's face heats. I'm not brave. I just… You are. Her fingers tighten around his. Bravery is not the absence of fear. It is choosing to act despite it. And you, Naruto Uzumaki, are full of fear. I can see it in your eyes. In the way you hold yourself. In the way you check the windows and the doors and the shadows, always watching, always waiting. She looks at him. But you act anyway. You fight anyway. You hope anyway. He does not know what to say. So he does not say anything. He sits beside her, in the darkness, and holds her hand, and lets himself feel the warmth of her presence. And for a moment, just a moment, he is not afraid. Dawn comes. The light creeps over the forest in shades of gold and pink, touching the leaves, the grass, the cottage with fingers of warmth. Naruto is standing at the door, dressed in his shinobi gear, his forehead protector tied tight, his hands steady at his sides. Snow White is beside him. She is wearing a dress the color of winter, white and gray and the pale blue of ice, and her hair is braided down her back. She looks like a princess. Like someone who was born to walk through castle doors and command armies, and change the world with nothing but her voice. But she is afraid. He can see it in the way her hands tremble, the way her breath catches, the way she looks at the forest like it might swallow her whole. He reaches out and takes her hand. Stay behind me, he says. No matter what happens. No matter what you see. Stay behind me. She nods. She does not speak. The dwarves are gathered behind them, their faces grim, their hands clenched. Grumpy has a sword at his hip, old, rusted, more symbol than weapon, and Doc carries a bag of herbs that he thinks might help, though they both know that herbs cannot stop the Queen's magic. We'll be here, Grumpy says. If you need us. Naruto nods. He does not say that if he needs them, it is already too late. He turns to the forest. And they walk. The journey to the castle takes hours. Naruto leads, his senses stretched to their limits, watching for shadows that move wrong, for sounds that do not belong. Snow White follows, her hand on his shoulder, her steps light and quick. The forest changes as they walk. The trees grow taller. The light grows dimmer. The sounds of birds and insects fade until there is nothing but the rustle of their feet on the fallen leaves and the whisper of wind through branches that seem to reach for them. Snow White's hand tightens on his shoulder. The forest knows, she says quietly. It knows who is coming. It knows what she has done. Naruto does not answer. He has felt it too. The weight of the trees. The way the path seems to shift beneath their feet, leading them where it wants them to go, not where they want to go. The way the shadows seem to thicken as they walk, gathering at the edges of his vision, waiting. They are being watched. He has known it since they left the cottage. But he keeps walking. The castle appears through the trees. It is not what Naruto expected. He has seen castles in his world, stone walls, towers, battlements designed to keep enemies out. This is different. This is something out of a nightmare. The walls are black. Not painted black, not stone that has darkened with age. Black. The color of absence. The color of light that has been swallowed and never released. They rise from the forest floor like teeth, jagged and sharp, and at their center, a tower stretches toward the sky, so tall that Naruto cannot see where it ends. Snow White stops. She is trembling. He can feel it through her hand on his shoulder, through the fine vibration that runs through her body like a plucked string. I have been here before, she says. When I was small. Before she took the throne. It was beautiful then. White stone. Gold towers. Gardens that stretched for miles. Her voice cracks. She destroyed it. When she came. She made it into this. Naruto looks at the castle. He thinks about the Leaf Village. About the walls that protected him, the streets that raised him, the faces of the people who became his family. He thinks about what it would feel like to watch it turn into something dark and terrible. To watch the place that was supposed to be safe become a prison. He takes Snow White's hand. We're going to take it back, he says. She looks at him. Her eyes are wet, but she is not crying. How? I don't know yet. He squeezes her hand. But we will. She holds his gaze for a long moment. Then she nods. The gates are open. They should not be open. Naruto knows that. The queen is expecting them. Has been expecting them since the moment they left the cottage. She is waiting behind those black walls, in that dark tower, with her magic and her shadows and her 100 years of cruelty. But she is also afraid. He knows it now. Felt it in the messenger's voice, in the threat that was too loud, too desperate, too carefully crafted to hide the fear beneath. She is afraid of Snow White. Afraid of the light she carries. Afraid of the hope that refuses to die. He walks through the gates. Snow White follows. The courtyard is empty. It is a vast space, paved with black stone, ringed by walls that seem to lean inward. There are no guards. No servants. No signs of life at all. Just the silence and the shadows and the weight of the tower at the center of it all. Naruto stops in the middle of the courtyard. He feels her before he sees her. A presence at the edge of his senses, familiar and terrible. The weight of her attention, pressing down on him like a hand on his chest. You came. The queen's voice comes from everywhere. From the walls, the stones, the air itself. It curls around him like smoke, like the shadows that attacked the cottage, like the cold that seeped into his bones when he crushed her scroll. Snow White's hand tightens on his. You said you were coming. The queen continues. I did not believe you. No one comes here. Not anymore. They are too afraid. Naruto looks up at the tower. Maybe they should be, he says. But I'm not them. The silence stretches. Then, from the shadows at the base of the tower, she steps forward. She is beautiful. Naruto knew she would be. He saw her in the forest, in the moment before she disappeared into the darkness. But seeing her now, in her own domain, with her power gathered around her like a cloak, it is different. She is not just beautiful. She is terrible. Her dress is black. Black as the walls, black as the stones, black as the space between stars. Her hair falls past her waist in waves of darkness that seem to move on their own, and her face is perfect. Too perfect. The face of a statue, of a painting, of something that was never meant to be alive. But her eyes are alive. And they are fixed on Snow White. You brought her to me, the queen says. Her voice is soft. Almost gentle. I did not expect that. I thought you would hide her. Protect her. Keep her in that little cottage with your little men, pretending that you could save her. She takes a step forward. Naruto moves to stand in front of Snow White. The queen stops. You are brave, she says. I will give you that. Stupid but brave. There are not many who would walk into my castle and stand between me and what I want. She tilts her head. What did she promise you? Love? Power? A place in her kingdom when she takes the throne? Her smile sharpens. She cannot give you anything. She has nothing. She is nothing. You're wrong. Snow White's voice cuts through the courtyard. She steps out from behind Naruto, her chin raised, her eyes steady. I am not nothing. I am the daughter of the king who ruled this land before you destroyed it. I am the last of a line that has protected this kingdom for 1,000 years. And I am not afraid of you. The queen's smile does not waver. Not afraid? She says. Little princess, you have been afraid of me your whole life. You have hidden in forests and cottages and the homes of strangers, running from the shadow of my power. You are so afraid that you brought a child to fight for you. She gestures at Naruto. This boy. This lost, confused boy who does not even belong in this world. You think he can save you? I think he can try, Snow White says. And that is more than anyone has ever done for me. The queen's smile falters. For a moment, just a moment, Naruto sees something in her face that might be pain. Something that might be recognition. Something that might be the echo of a girl who was once young and hopeful and believed that someone would try to save her. Then it is gone. And the shadows rise. They come from everywhere. From the walls, the stones, the tower. From the space between the stars and the darkness behind the moon. They rise like a tide, black and cold and hungry, and they reach for Snow White with fingers made of despair. Naruto moves. His hands form the signs before he thinks. Ram, boar, ox, and a Rasengan forms in his palm, spinning, screaming, lighting up the courtyard with its blue-white fury. He throws it at the shadows, and it tears through them, opening a path of light. But more shadows take its place. They are endless. The queen's power is endless. For every shadow he destroys, two more rise to take its place. They press against him, cold and hungry, and he feels his chakra draining, feels the exhaustion in his bones, feels the weight of 100 years of darkness pushing against his light. Naruto! Snow White's voice is a knife through the chaos. He turns. She is standing behind him, her hands raised, her face illuminated by something that is not the Rasengan. Something softer. Something warmer. Light. It is coming from her. Not the harsh light of his jutsu. Not the golden light that came from his hands when the shadows attacked the cottage. Something else. Something that is hers. The light of a princess who was born to rule, who learned kindness when she could have learned cruelty, who chose hope when she had every reason to choose despair. She is glowing. The queen sees it. And for the first time, Naruto sees fear in her face. No. The queen's voice is not soft now. It is not gentle. It is the voice of something ancient and terrible, something that has been sleeping in the darkness for so long that it has forgotten there was ever anything else. You cannot, this is my world. My kingdom. My power. You are nothing. You are less than nothing. You are. I am your daughter. Snow White's voice is quiet, but it carries. The queen stops. The shadows stop. The world stops. Snow White steps forward, and the light around her grows. It is not attacking. It is not fighting. It is simply there. Existing. Refusing to be extinguished. I am your daughter, she says again. The daughter of the king you married and the queen you murdered. I have lived my whole life in the shadow of your hatred. I have run from your assassins and hidden from your magic and watched the people who loved me die because you wanted me gone. She takes another step. But I am still here. I am still alive. And I am not afraid of you anymore. The queen's face twists. The perfect mask cracks, and beneath it, Naruto sees something he did not expect. Pain. Real pain. The pain of someone who has spent 100 years filling the emptiness inside her with hatred and power and control, and who has never, not once, found enough to make it stop. You do not understand, the queen says. Her voice is ragged. You cannot understand. You had everything. A father who loved you. A kingdom that adored you. A future that was bright and beautiful and… She stops. I had nothing. Nothing. And when I tried to take what was mine, they called me evil. They called me monster. They tried to destroy me. So you destroyed them instead? Yes. The queen's eyes are wild. I destroyed them. I destroyed all of them. And I would do it again. 1,000 times. 1,000,000 times. Because this world, this cruel, stupid, beautiful world, does not give anything to those who do not take it. She raises her hands. The shadows rise with her. And Naruto moves. He does not think. If he thinks, he will hesitate. If he hesitates, he will die. And if he dies, Snow White dies with him. He calls on Kurama. Not the full power of the Nine Tails. He does not need that. Does not want it. But he needs something. Something that can match the queen's darkness. Something that can push back the shadows long enough for Snow White to reach her. The chakra comes. It is not the golden light that came from his hands. It is something older. Something wilder. The red chakra of the nine-tailed fox, burning against his skin, filling him with heat and fury and the terrible, beautiful power of something that was never meant to be tamed. He throws himself at the queen. His hands find her wrists. Her skin is cold, colder than the shadows, colder than death, but he holds on. He holds on, and the red chakra burns against her, and she screams. Let go of me! Her voice is not human anymore. It is the voice of the shadows, the voice of the darkness, the voice of something that has been feeding on fear for 100 years and is not ready to stop. Naruto does not let go. Snow White is behind him. He can feel her light, warm and steady, pushing against the darkness. She is moving forward, reaching for the queen, reaching for the woman who has hunted her whole life. Mother! The word cuts through the chaos like a blade. The queen goes still. Snow White is standing in front of her. Her hand is raised, her palm open, her face soft with something that might be pity or forgiveness or the terrible, impossible hope that even the darkest heart can be reached. You do not have to be this, she says. You do not have to be alone. The queen stares at her. And for a moment, just a moment, Naruto sees something in her face that he recognizes. The same thing he saw in Sasuke, in the moment before he left. The same thing he sees in himself, sometimes, in the darkness before dawn. Fear. Not fear of death. Not fear of pain. Fear of being seen. Fear of being known. Fear that the person looking at her might see the truth she has been hiding for 100 years. That she is not a monster. That she never was. That she is just a woman who was hurt, and who hurt others because she did not know how else to survive. Please, Snow White says. Please let me help you. The queen's hand rises. Naruto tenses, ready to move, ready to protect. But the queen's hand does not strike. It trembles. And then, slowly, it reaches out. Her fingers touch Snow White's face. You are beautiful, the queen whispers. You have always been beautiful. And I. She stops. Her face contorts. And the shadows rise. They do not come from the walls this time. They come from the queen herself. From her skin, her eyes, her mouth. They pour out of her like water from a broken vessel, and she screams, a sound that is not human, not animal, not anything Naruto has ever heard. She is losing control. The darkness that she has been holding for 100 years is breaking free. It does not care about kingdoms or thrones or the woman who has been feeding it for a century. It cares only about one thing. Consuming everything. Naruto grabs Snow White and pulls her back. The light around her flickers, falters, but does not go out. She is still glowing. Still fighting. Still refusing to be extinguished. But the shadows are growing. They are everywhere. In the walls, the stones, the tower. In the sky, the earth, the space between heartbeats. They are swallowing the light, swallowing the castle, swallowing the world. And Naruto knows, in that moment, what he has to do. He lets go of Snow White. What are you? I'll be back. He does not give her time to argue. He turns and runs toward the queen, toward the shadows, toward the darkness that is trying to swallow the world. His hands form the signs. Ram. Boar. Ox. The Rasengan forms in his palm. But it is not blue-white this time. It is gold. The same gold that came from his hands in the cottage. The same gold that pushed back the shadows and filled the darkness with light. He does not understand it. He does not need to. He throws himself at the queen, and the Rasengan meets the shadows, and the world explodes into light. He is falling. He does not know where. Does not know how far. He only knows that the light is everywhere, and the darkness is screaming, and somewhere in the chaos, he hears a voice. Boy. Kurama. You are going to die if you do not let go. He does not let go. He holds on to the Rasengan, holds on to the light, holds on to the memory of Snow White's face and the warmth of her hand and the way she looked at him like he was something more than he ever thought he could be. You fool. The fox's voice is almost gentle. You absolute fool. And then there is nothing. He wakes on the ground. The sky is above him. The real sky. Blue and wide and full of clouds that drift and shift and do not care about the battles of small, stubborn boys. He is lying on grass. Soft grass. The kind of grass that grows in places that have not been touched by darkness. He sits up. The castle is gone. Where it stood, there is nothing but a field of flowers. White and gold and the pale blue of winter, stretching as far as he can see. They are blooming in the sunlight, reaching toward the sky, and in the center of them. Snow White is kneeling. She is holding something. Something small and fragile and broken. Something that might have been a woman once, or a queen, or a girl who was hurt so badly that she forgot how to be anything else. Naruto walks toward her. His legs are shaking. His body is screaming. But he walks. He stops beside her. Snow White looks up. Her face is wet. Her eyes are red. But she is not crying. Not anymore. She is gone, she says. The darkness took her. In the end. She looks down at the thing in her arms. But she was free. For a moment. She was free. Naruto does not know what to say. So he kneels beside her. And together, in the field of flowers where the castle used to stand, they watch the sunlight fall on the ruins of a darkness that has finally ended. The flowers stretch to the horizon. Naruto has been standing in them for what feels like hours, watching the sunlight shift across their petals, watching the shadows lengthen and shrink and lengthen again. The castle is gone. The darkness is gone. The queen is gone. And he is still here. Snow White is beside him. She has not moved from where she knelt in the center of the field, her hands folded in her lap, her face turned toward the sky. She is not crying. She has not cried since the castle fell. But there is something in her silence that feels heavier than tears. What happens now? Naruto asks. She does not answer immediately. Her eyes are fixed on a point in the distance, somewhere beyond the flowers, beyond the forest, beyond the world they have been fighting in for days that feel like years. I don't know, she says finally. I never thought I would get this far. He understands. He has been there before. In the moments after a battle, when the adrenaline fades and the silence settles and there is nothing left to fight. The emptiness that follows. The space between what was and what will be. He sits down beside her. The grass is soft. The flowers brush against his hands, his arms, his face. They smell like nothing he has ever smelled before, sweet and clean and alive in a way that makes his chest ache. She was my mother, Snow White says. Naruto looks at her. Not by blood. My mother died when I was small. But she, the queen, she married my father. She raised me. For a while. Snow White's voice is distant. I remember her singing. Before she changed. Before the darkness took her. She would sit by my bed and sing, and her voice was beautiful, and I thought. She stops. Naruto waits. I thought she loved me. Snow White finishes. I thought I was safe. The words hang in the air between them. Naruto thinks about his own childhood. About the orphanage. About the faces of the caretakers who looked at him like he was a burden, a problem, a thing to be managed. About the long, empty years when he thought that no one would ever love him, that no one would ever see him, that he would be alone forever. He reaches out and takes her hand. She does not pull away. You're not alone, he says. You have the dwarves. You have this kingdom. You have. He stops. You have me. For as long as I'm here. She looks at him. Her eyes are brown. Deep brown. The color of earth after rain, of bark and sunlight, of something that has been growing in the darkness for a very long time and is finally seeing the light. How long is that? She asks. He does not have an answer. The dwarves find them at dusk. They come through the forest with lanterns and torches, their faces pale with fear, their hands shaking. They have been searching for hours. Days. Naruto does not know how long they have been in the field. Time has lost its meaning. Doc reaches them first. He drops to his knees beside Snow White, his hands finding her face, her shoulders, her hands. He checks her pulse, her breathing, her eyes. He is crying. Naruto has never seen Doc cry before. You're alive, Doc says. His voice cracks. You're alive. Snow White touches his face. I'm alive. The other dwarves gather around them. Grumpy stands at the edge of the circle, his arms crossed, his face set in its permanent expression of displeasure. But his eyes are wet, and his hands are trembling, and when Snow White looks at him, he nods once, sharply, and does not look away. Happy is crying openly. Sleepy keeps nodding off and jerking awake, like he cannot quite believe this is real. Bashful has hidden his face in his hands, and Sneezy keeps sneezing. Allergies, he says, though everyone knows it is the dust and the emotion and the sheer, impossible relief. Dopey is the last to reach them. He kneels beside Snow White and takes her hand. His face is wet. His lips are moving, but no sound comes out. And Snow White looks at him, and her smile widens, just a little, and she squeezes his hand. The castle is gone, she says. The queen is gone. It's over. The dwarves stare at her. Grumpy is the first to speak. How? Snow White looks at Naruto. He shifts under the weight of their attention. She, the queen, she lost control. Of the darkness. Of the magic. It consumed her. He pauses. I don't know how to explain it. But it's over. She's not coming back. The dwarves are silent. Then, slowly, Grumpy smiles. It is not a large smile. It is not a warm smile. It is the smile of a man who has spent his whole life waiting for something to go right, and cannot quite believe that it finally has. But it is a smile. And for a moment, it is enough. They return to the cottage. The walk through the forest is different now. The trees do not reach for them. The shadows do not move. The air is clean and cool and filled with the sounds of birds and insects and the small, quiet life of a world that is healing. Snow White walks at the front, her hand in Naruto's, her face lifted toward the sky. The dwarves follow behind them, talking in low voices, laughing sometimes, crying sometimes, letting themselves feel something they have not let themselves feel in years. Hope. Naruto watches them. He watches the way Happy throws his arm around Sleepy's shoulders. The way Bashful keeps wiping his eyes and pretending he isn't. The way Sneezy sneezes and sneezes and sneezes, and no one tells him to be quiet, because it is the sound of life, and life is something they thought they had lost. He watches Snow White. She is walking taller now. Her shoulders are back. Her chin is raised. She looks like a princess. Like someone who was born to lead, to protect, to carry the weight of a kingdom on her shoulders. But she is also scared. He can see it in the way her hand tightens around his when the forest grows dark. In the way she looks over her shoulder, checking for shadows that are no longer there. In the way she breathes, too fast, too shallow, like she is waiting for the other shoe to drop. He squeezes her hand. She looks at him. "We're almost there," he says. She nods. She does not let go. The cottage is waiting. It is small. Humble. A door that hangs slightly crooked, windows that have been cracked and repaired a dozen times, a garden that has been trampled by too many feet and not enough care. But it is standing. And in the window, a light is burning. Snow White stops at the edge of the garden. Her hand slips from Naruto's. She stands there, looking at the cottage, at the light, at the flowers that are beginning to bloom again in the trampled soil. "I thought I would never see this again," she says. Naruto stands beside her. "It's still here,"